ripping along. What a great feeling that is. Epic. Some boats are all about looks and others practicality. So where does this Tesoro T40 sit on the scale of sexy and practical? So if you come from the walkthrough video, guys, welcome to Camp Cove. Cute little coffee shop in there, fantastic anchorage in a northeasterly breeze. Do watch some of the traffic on a busy day from boat wash. So if you haven't come for the walkthrough, this is the Tesoro 40. 7.5 tonnes, about 950 litres of fuel capacity, 450 on board. We're running the twin 350 horsepower Merc, so we're on the outboard version. There are inboards. You can go from 300 to 440 on the inboards and 450 on the outboards. And we've got the extended swim platform out the back. But yeah, in this video, we're just going to go for a run straight out to some waves, try on a few different angles, go really fast in the flat water, and then I'm going to compare it to some of the competition, because there is a bit of competition and you guys probably want to hear about it all. So let's get going. Trim tabs retracted, accelerating, 3,500 revs. This is my first drive. Fuel flow up to 90 litres. Legs are down. I'm just going to give them a little bit of a trim up. And we're up to 20 knots. I'm not going to go hell for leather just yet because we're heading straight out into the ocean in a second. So I'm just going to feel the boat before I start speeding up. And you can feel summer is coming. Love this time of year, guys. Oh man, it's so exciting. Let's give it a little bit of a trim down on the trim tabs. And I've just set off a bilge pump, so there must be a little bit of water in the back of the boat. I can hear that going now. Not much I can do. It's just going to have to clear itself. There we go. Going out into some waves, maintaining 25 knots. So we got some cutting action at the front of the boat. Obviously it's a V-section hull, but that's nice. Okay, feel that. It's not an aggressive V. I would say she probably wants to allow for more speed in flatter water. This hull shape, from what I observed from the drone. 22 knots, just going straight into those waves now. 4,300 revs. Got a couple of big waves on me now. And a one, and a two. 23 knots, dry over the front of the boat. Excellent. All right, that's acceptable. Obviously bring your guests into the middle of the boat or down the back if you're heading offshore like this. Don't have them up the front because that just wouldn't be wise. Just going to take the waves on the starboard beam now. I'm still running at that 4,400 revs, 22.5 knots, variable with the waves, and got a 56 litre aside, so 105, 110 litres total. And let's increase the speed a little bit, 4,600, 4,700 revs. Visibility is really good. Even though the bow does come up a little bit, your driver position is elevated, so I find it quite comfortable. And I gotta say, this thing is super gorgeous. One of the better looking mid-day boats out there at the moment. 4,800 rev, 27 knots, feels good, that's fine. Waves from the side. Let's go down swell. Okay, raising my trim tabs. I was doing that with 1/4 trim tab down. Just doing a slight bank there, 4,800 revs, 4,700, 26 knots. I'm going to increase my speed. Okay, she really does feel quite lively. You know, at 7.5 tonne, this has got to be one of the lighter mid-day boats, and I feel like I'm benefiting from that right now. This is, let's just give it a little bit of a blast. This is quite an enjoyable boat to drive. She's lively in terms of the bow acceleration at the front, so you just want to control it a little bit. But from what we just saw there in those moderate sea conditions, she can handle it. It does feel like a boat that I would, in the right conditions, still take offshore and run at speed. I'm just sitting on 31 knots right now at 5,300 revs. I've got my trim tabs fully retracted. The angle of attack is quite predictable. The bow's giving me plenty of viz forward. My fuel flow is 153 litres. And if I wanted to settle that bow down, let's just trim those engines. Okay. I'm in waves here, guys. I'm just playing. You can just get a little bit of trim tab down to settle the bow down. Just pay attention or be aware that you're going to burn a little bit more fuel when you do that, because you're going to have more boat in the water. Try not to scare this Maritimo. Hopefully he understands I'm doing this for the photos, not to piss him off. Okay, coming through at 28 knots. 28 knots feels a tad slow, but at 4,900 revs you are below that 5,000 number, which I'm always favouring for fuel flow. So you know, we got 128 litres total right now at the 4,900. Let's bump it over 5,000 now, see what it goes to. So I've just gone to 5,180. My speed's climbing, but my fuel flow's gone to 160. So, you know, a little bit more. That feels good. So now I'm going to start to benefit from this flatter water that we shall soon enter, and I'm going to wind the boat up. I think I'm going to do 2 laps. I'm going to do one at a sensible speed just to feel the boat out. 5,400 revs, 32 knots, 163 litres, trim tabs still retracted. I'm just going to trim them down. You know, moderate behaviour when you lower the tabs there. It's not hugely noticeable. I think the hull, the overall size and beam of this thing is perhaps doing a bit of that for us. We'll just keep feeling it. Okay. Little engine trim up, 5,600 revs now, 33 knots. I won't break 33 at the moment. I'm just going to hook it through here. And there's another boat that we filmed on the channel, the Fjord 41 XL. That's a direct competitor to this boat. So I'll link to that at the end of this one. Definitely something you should compare this Tesoro to. Look at this water. Feel the sunshine. Oh, guys, how can you not be happy on weather like this? On a boat like this and a day like today. Fantastic. Okay, let's start hooking it through. 33 knots. 5,500 revs. I'm going to do a wide sweeping turn, and then I'm going to increase my power for the second turn. It appears that everyone has stayed dry so far. I think if you hopped aggressive waves on the side, they might want to bounce up these flat sides and cause a bit of water to come over, but I've not seen any so far, so everything's been quite predictable. Got one lagoon, one Riviera, clear ahead, flat water, entering into some ocean swell. Just going to go through these waves, just feel how that feels. Yeah, she's fine. Got some bounce back now off these rocks. Let's feel that. 1, 2. You know, you can feel the lighter weight of this boat as she goes through some of those waves. You do notice that moderate bow acceleration, but it's actually fun. You know, if you've come from something like a Chris Craft, for example, you will be familiar with how this hull is responding. It's, the term I like to use is lively. It's quite enjoyable. So now let's speed her up. Oh yeah, trim tabs fully retracted, engine trim coming up, going back into the flat water, 5,900 revs, 36 knots, climbing, going to give another little trim up, half load of fuel on board, 36 and a half, 350 horsepower, 37, and another trim up, 6,000 revs, 235 litres an hour, 37 knots, and climbing. Let's give it some more, another little trim up. The wind vortices would possibly blow your hat off. I can feel wind here and here at this speed. 6,170 revs, 38.7 knots, ripping along. What a great feeling that is. Epic. So I'm going to come off the power now. Pretty decent fuel consumption there, but you're only going to do that for a short amount of time, because when you come back to your sensible cruise speed of, say, 29 to 32 knots. Now we're right back with my engine trim up. You know, I'm reading 116 litres now, which is going to get you to your destination in no time. Fantastic. All right, I'm going to go find somewhere to anchor this boat, and then we'll play with this platform and see what advantages that may bring to your boat life. Keep watching, we'll go there now. Okay guys, I've just popped into Store Beach, typical anchorage where a lot of you are going to go. I found myself doing that whole drive from the standing position, super comfortable, didn't really see any desire to sit down. If you need to, you've got the flip up bolster, and I've got to say, a lot of room between the seat and the wheel just there. But let's, we're here to test the maneuverability of the boat, so I want to do that somewhere close to shore, give you guys just a demonstration on what your typical day is going to be like. Now, first thing, if you're trying to decide between the inboards versus the outboards, just be aware that inboards are going to be a little bit more torquey. The props on those stern drives are going to be bigger than what you would have on an outboard, and they're going to be lower, deeper down in the water, so they will actually behave a little bit differently. However, your top end speeds, if you go for something like the 450Rs, are going to be greater with an outboard. And you know, there's an argument for serviceability and that sort of thing with outboards as well. So I suspect this would be a 45 knot boat with the 450Rs. We just saw the speed we achieved with these motors. So you just be the judge of that. But now just practicing a bit of transverse thrust there. Let's just see how she behaves. Engines are reasonably close together, so you've got to give them a bit of power to get the boat spinning. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. So the engine in reverse will kick a little bit of water up onto the platform there, so just watch your revs and pay attention to that if you don't want to bring any water onto the boat. I didn't see any real necessity to raise the platform if you're driving in normal inshore moderate conditions like we were just now. If it was a rough day and I'm out in the ocean, I would actually raise the platform just to stop any chance of the platform being walloped by a big wave, but no necessity to do that just then. So the bow thruster is on the port side, just next to the trim tabs. I do like the location of that because I've got throttle hand here and I've got operational hand from steering, trim tabs, thruster right there. That is sensible design. So let's just try out the thruster. Oh, she's a torquey one. Feel that, yeah, that's good. That's actually going to give you a bit of benefit, guys. So lots of power and not a lot of weight, so that's what's happening just there. Pay attention to the design of this bow thruster. It's got buttons and it's on a flat surface. Now the trick for these, operate it with two fingers like that. Don't operate it with one finger, because if you do one finger and you press the wrong button, you're going to embarrass yourself. So don't do that. Use two fingers, right finger for right, left finger for left, and your day will be a lot smoother. So that's all pretty cool. I don't see any issues there. The amount of power that we just discovered combined with some wheel over would allow us to side slip the boat, so I could do engines full lock to one side, engage gear forward and thrust, and that's going to slide the boat sideways. So in a docking scenario, that's going to give us some really good control. Obviously you can go joysticks, but that is an expensive piece of kit, so you make the decision or whether that's of any value to you. Okay, time to operate the anchor and see how this works. We've got windlass up, windlass down from here. We'll go ahead and do that and bring you along with us. So the anchoring process was relatively simple. She seemed to deploy all right, and as you can see, we're here happy as Larry, and it's nice to see with such a good looking boat the ability to hide the anchor as we did. So where do I see this boat fitting in your spectrum, your boat life, and who should you compare it to? It's definitely a platform of fun. So if that's what you seek, if you want something you can set up on the epic days, then you should focus on something like this. With the outboards, with this platform out the back here, and with some of these unique features that we talked about in the walkthrough, it does have a practical sense to it, but it's not a Riviera or a Maritimo. It is a big, open, sexy med day boat. So just bear that in mind. Who are the best people to be suited to something like this? Probably people without their kids are a little bit older, not little tiny ones, as I mentioned in the previous video, because if you've got little toddlers running around, I do see maybe some situations where that's going to be difficult for you with exposure to the sun and these transoms just here. So if your kids are slightly older, it's probably better for you. Who should you compare this boat to? I think definitely the Fjord 41 XL, that's a competitor to this one. I would say the Solaris Power 40 and the Invictus TT420. All of them are in this same category. Very Italian, obviously one of them is German, but this is the sort of thing you see in the Med and now in Sydney and the Gold Coast, and probably, actually I know, or also already in Perth, boats like this are growing in popularity. So guys, if you enjoyed that, if you learnt something, I hope you did, please subscribe, give us a like. I'm going to pop a link to one of the competing boats on the screen right now. My name's Dan Jones. You've been watching Dan's Boat Life. Thanks. See you on the next one.